Just let me first let you both talk a little bit about what this film has come to mean to you, because I think that it's really, it means one thing to a lot of fans, but it's different when it's your dad. So,
Absolutely. I think the film, I mean, at least from, if I can speak on behalf of all my family, we all have such an appreciation for what it's done for the fans and anyone who's seen the film, whether it's people that can resonate with them being currently struggling with addiction, past addiction, mental health, CTE, or even someone who knows a person who is struggling with any of those things. So I think we have a lot of appreciation for the takeaways that they can have from that film and how many people can connect with all of that. But I think on more of a personal level, what we really like to focus on is the big picture of who our dad was. And I mean, he was just so full of life. That's who we're talking about, right? Just, yeah, larger than life person. And he was a wonderful man and he lived a wonderful life. And it might not come across just in that film. That's such a small chapter of his life. I think there's so many amazing stories that we get to keep and so many fans get to share with us. And anyone who truly knew him knows who he was as a person.
what was the film come to mean to you?
Oh, so much. I honestly think you did nail it on the head. But for me, it's nice to also see his life. They followed the book very closely. And so he got to tell that book 2 months before he passed away. Those were word for word his stories. And Kirsty, the author of the book, did a really incredible job putting that in on the pages. And so getting to read that and relive his life through his eyes was incredible. And then seeing it be turned into a documentary form and live out on the screen, it was surreal, but it was also really, it's special. But again, Tierney nailed it with saying there's so much more than just that story. So we get to see his struggles on screen, but we know his personal positive light and the bright ray of sunshine he was too. So it's nice.
It's a tough watch for you, isn't it? I mean,
Oh yeah.
struggles are it's all right there.
Oh yeah. It's definitely, there's no hiding it. There's no sugarcoating it. It's not a watch that, I know you referenced earlier, we're not watching that every weekend, but every once in a while we will get to watch his story, and it's who he was. It's how he became the person he was. He was so resilient because of everything he overcame. So that's important too.
It's funny, Terry, that you referred to him as bigger than life, because I think he was obviously bigger than life to hockey fans.
Yeah.
But it was bigger than life to you too.
Oh, especially, I mean, every kid thinks that their dad is their hero, right? I mean, that's what they want, correct? But his presence, everything about him, his personality, he was just such a teddy bear. He was so loving, just such a wonderful human. I mean, the things that he did for his community and his fans and the people around him. And that's all stuff that we got to see. But of course, you know, him at home, he was the fun dad. We got to do so many cool things with him and, you know, riding dirt bikes, Harleys, four-wheelers, whatever. It was nonstop adrenaline rush with him. Mm-hmm. It was an amazing childhood.
And you think that, and the film kind of shows you think it's pretty accurate to the dad you knew, right?
I think that it shows a little bit of that. But we're happy to know that personally. We don't need that to be shown to the world, because truly it is like the people who really knew him, his fans and us, we know that. We don't need that to be proven to anyone else.
Yeah. I'm curious about how you both feel now about the game of hockey. It gave you a lot. It also took a lot from you, right? I mean, the concussions, no doubt it played into mental health struggles that he had and addiction problems that he had. I'm really curious about how you now feel when you see a hockey game or the winged wheel. I mean, both of you, kind of tell me a little bit about how you feel about the game that you love so much.
I think we have so much of an appreciation for it. There's no negative feelings whatsoever. I mean, we love, especially Detroit. The community here is incredible, and all the sports family, we love being able to, even now we're still friends with so many of the retired players, but also their kids, and seeing like the legacy go on that way is a lot of fun, being connected with everybody. But I love it. It is such a family, and especially that era that he played in was an incredible era. I couldn't imagine what it's like now, but we really got the best of it, I think, in my opinion.
I agree with that completely. And I will say the hockey family is something unlike any other. So you might not see everybody every year or every month, but you really do have those connections for life. And everyone would go to bat for every single person in that network. And it really is full of a ton of incredible people.
It's so funny when I go to a Wings game now, I always see a couple of Probert jerseys in the crowd every game. I mean, that's got to.
Oh, we love seeing it.
I love it. It warms my heart. I always get really excited to still see some of his jerseys going on by, or a T-shirt. I'm like, oh, that's him. He really did leave that legacy, and that's incredible.
And it shows us like he's not forgotten. There's still so many fans out there, and so whenever we go to games and we see that, we get all excited about it.
The other part that I assume is really hard for you, though, is, nobody wants to be somebody else's cautionary tale. And yet, your dad I'm going to assume that he inspired some Red Wings fans to go get help for addiction problems. I'm going to assume that he inspired some to figure out their heart health, because he was too young to have a heart attack. And he also was one of the first people first athletes diagnosed with CTE. So in that way, he was a pioneer for people who, we think totally differently about concussions in sports than we used to. And yet it's hard that your dad had to be the example for all. Do you follow what I mean?
Absolutely. I definitely agree with that to a point. And I do think one of the things that he was really big on was he was just going to live his life, and he really wasn't trying to put on a face for anybody else. And that's what I respect of him too, is he went through his struggles very publicly compared to other people. And I think him being brave enough to share that with the world actually did indirectly help other people. And it wasn't his intent, but he was very proud of just being himself and owning up, having accountability for any of his mistakes or challenges that he experienced. And I think that was incredible too.
Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what we can hope for, is that, and it's what he hoped for writing that book, is that his story could help other people. I mean, obviously it's not the outcome anybody wanted, but if what we get out of it is being able to help other people along the way, that's exactly what he would have wanted.
Yeah, so right. Kind of for people who have followed along with your family, kind of bring us up to date on how your family and especially how your mom is doing now.
Everybody's good. Danny's doing great.
She is amazing.
You want to go ahead?
Oh, sure. I'll go first. So I'm getting married this year. That's a pretty big deal for us. And the numbers are pretty meaningful. We're getting married on 12/12/2024. And anybody who hears it knows exactly why.
So excited.
So right.
It just means so much. 12 + 12, 24. He'll be there on the day. So I think that's incredible. We wanted to figure out how to honor him in some way. So, yeah.
I'm working for a retail company out of Dallas, and Declan's going to school over in Windsor for a psychology degree. She really wants to get into mental health and addiction help, obviously inspired by my dad. And Jack is at an architecture firm in Detroit. So we're all trying to get over here.
Everyone's coming back stateside.
That's really great. The last thing I wanted to talk about was what it was like to grow up with such a, not only a public figure of a dad, but because you were much younger at the time, but also then to go through with the film and then the later parts of his, when he died, and you had so much attention on you because he was such a public figure. And I suppose that works both ways, right? I mean, you're all of a sudden, your whole family is in the public eye, and yet you've got so many people wanting to share their stories or their memories of Bob, of your dad with you. But what was it like being so public through all of these struggles of your dad?
I don't think we knew right away. I mean, at least being young, there's people that stop him and ask for autographs, and we're like, what do you want that for?
But you don't recognize it when you're that young. You don't realize that not everyone's dad. He had a very unique career. And so you just think like, he's your hero. Everyone gets stopped for autographs, and that's great. And he was so mellow and down to earth about it. So it was never a huge scene. He was so friendly, and he really did want to meet his fans. They meant so much to him. And that's, at the end of the day, he always would say, that's why we're here. Fans support us.
It was like a normal conversation with a person. It was never like, he really wanted to engage with people and know their stories and truly talk with them, get to know them. He was really great for that. So for us, it never felt like we were meeting fans or anything like that. I think the appreciation came when we got older and started doing charity events and whatnot after his passing. then we really got to connect with people and hearing their stories and how he impacted their life. That's when we really started to realize, wow, he meant a lot to much, like more than us, to the community and all of his fans and everything. So that part of it's incredible. And we love, even when they reach out now, like through social media, or they'll stop us and talk to us, we love hearing their stories. Like they'll never get old for us, because it shows that his spirit's still alive and his legacy is carrying on. So we will never get sick of hearing it.
No, please keep sharing. We love the
It's
stories.
so funny to hear you talk about his softness. You may be aware his reputation was as the most dangerous guy in hockey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I said it before and I'll say it again, that our dad, may have been known as the enforcer, but Danny was the true fighter. She was the hard one.
We would have to ask Dad. We would ask him first, knowing he would say yes if we ever wanted to go to a friend's house or go and have certain plans. He's like, you got to ask your mom. Like, I'm going to say yes to everything. And so Mom was the one who would lay the hammer down. It was great. But honestly, he was just such a teddy bear all the time. Like, one of my favorite things is, it's in the documentary, it's in the book. He made sure to kiss us goodnight and sing us a little song every single night, and he never missed it. And that was the softest side I've ever seen of him. And I would tell people that, and they're like, what? He's this big guy. He's this fighting guy. Like, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is what we get to live.
He was goofy. He liked to dress funny. He liked to, sing weird songs, take us out whenever we wanted in the middle of the night to go get ice cream, and
Embarrass us in drive-thrus all the time.
embarrass us.
That was a go-to.
He just didn't care. He didn't have a care in the world.
Yep. It was awesome. Wear all of his old alumni clothes with holes in them, and it was just,
He loved his Crocs. Those are back.
in six colors.
Oh, this is hilarious.
6 different colors. That was the big thing for him. They were waterproof. Mind-blowing.
This is also where it's great that he was part of the, because Red Wing fans are so loyal, and that he would be a part of this organization in this area where it'll never get old to so many people to talk about him, to remember him. I mean, it's just always a celebration for him waiting, right? To people to talk, who want to talk to you about him.
Yeah, and we love it. Every chance we get, we love it.
Yeah, it means a lot to us.
That's great. You guys, perfect. Thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me.